Hey, how's it going, guys? And welcome back to the Q&A. Today we're joined with Mod Ash,
Hello.
Mod Ghost,
Hello.
myself, Mod Archie, and Mod Aiza.
Hey.
I believe we have a fifth joining us very shortly. We might be lucky enough to get Mod Rock as well. We've also got Mod Maz gathering questions from the chat. He's at the door. There he is. So at OldSchoolRS with any questions, and we'll be sure to get those in the Q&A. So first things first, something rather important went out yesterday. Mod Aiza, do you want to take us through it?
Oh my god.
The outcome so far?
Yeah, so the poll for Theatre of Blood and all of its associated rewards, as well as the quest, A Taste for Hope, is currently live in-game. We're sitting around about 21,000 votes, I think, just before I came down to the Q&A. So there's definitely room for a lot more of you to get involved. Regardless of your decision, make sure you go in and vote. But pretty much what it's looking like at the moment is that the raid itself and the quest are doing fantastic. 2 of the potions are doing really well. 3 of them not so well. We have the Defender, looks to be passing. The Prayer is very much not passing. The Staff, Rapier, Armour and Scythe, as well as the Shroud, are also all passing so far. So for a first round of things, it's really good to know that we were about there with what the community were expecting. So
yeah. It's done really well.
Yeah.
I think we were going into this one thinking like we were confident in some, but it's tough to tell with others. I think the beta certainly played a big part. You guys got to actually test things out.
yeah.
And yeah, I think that was a really good call.
It's always difficult as well when you're dealing with these kind of things because there's obviously everyone has so many different opinions and there's a lot of back and forth in between. You make one change and then one side of the community are happy, but the other side are like, oh, we didn't want that change. We want it to be like this way. And it's trying to just hit that sweet spot really. And I think we were there. And I think, as you say, the tournament worlds have really helped out. So hopefully you guys thought that they were useful and found some, good use of them as well.
You've still got time to vote. I believe is it until next Wednesday?
Till Monday.
Till next Monday. Okay, so get your votes in quickly, and that'll be Raids 2 underway. It's safe to say it is coming at this point. I'm certainly hopeful. It's like 90% passing, so that'd be a shock if it somehow didn't pass.
You just jinx it.
And naturally, we weren't going to offer you Raids 2 without rewards, so we're happy to see that it's more than likely going to have some really good stuff to go with it. So it's fantastic. Moving on. Speaking of Raids 2, what's next? How do we go from here? So we're working on some stuff in particular we can't really talk about. I think we're keeping relatively consistent progress updates through some of the sneak peeks with the art stuff.
Yeah, sure. I can say that I'm currently working on a boss.
Yeah. You don't say. And as far as the rewards go, we actually already have some assets ready. I believe we have the Scythe made. I believe we have the Rapier you modeled on a stream not too long ago.
Yeah, sure. They're still open for feedback as well, it's important to say. But yeah, we've got the basics down.
And then we have one of the armor sets that I believe Mod West has made already quite a while ago.
Justice,
yeah. So we'd like to use one of those armor sets, I believe. But you guys will get to see more of that in the near future.
Yeah, just to add on that, sorry to make something even longer, but in the next couple of months probably rather than weeks, maybe 1 month, we'll do a development progress review similar to how we did with Dragon Slayer 2. So you have an idea of how far we've came along so far, what we've got left to finish, and how things have been leading up to that point. So.
Yeah. And lastly, I'm looking to book a player visit very shortly. Now that we've got things confirmed and everybody's working on the project, we'll be looking to get some of the best players in the game to the office to help playtest once we get something that's actually playable for them and they can help contribute to the balancing. All right, moving on. Top says, can we have the option to fix our broken gear, being Fire Cape, Void, etc., in our player-owned house for a slight reduction in price?
I like the idea of being able to do it in his house because in certain places Purdue isn't exactly in an ideal location. But as for a reduced price, the whole point of them being repairable for a fee is to take the money out of the game. So
that is true, although if it were only a very slightly reduced price, it'd still be a reward for having the construction level and the setup, etc.
I was going to say, isn't Barrow's slightly different, like slightly reduced based on your smithing level?
That's not far enough away.
I think a while since I saw that code could be.
So if we were to do it based on something like that, a reduction.
I'm open to it anyway. And also, you pointed out that Purdue is not very well situated. Maybe somebody wrote a poll question that was a bit confusingly worded, but it looked like we were meant to move him to more convenient places, but only on PvP worlds. It would have been a lot easier to just blink and move him. He's only a small dwarf. But the wording of the question was such that he was only meant to be moved on PvP worlds, so I did it. But we could make him conveniently situated anywhere we like.
Okay.
Sure.
So for a brief period there, I believe they should have understood that, at least through Gareth's mic. Your mic was muted, I think, for just a second there. I think we're good now.
Is it something I said?
No. Also, the buzzing. We've just chucked some of our phones across the room now, as occasionally phones near microphones can cause buzzing. So apologies, guys. Okay, moving on. So what about the thought of barrows? Barrows on the PvP armor stands for a slight increase in price. Why?
You know, for the increased convenience of getting it fixed without having to go to a place.
Sure.
If they want convenience and are willing to pay for it in that aspect.
I don't see us minding how quickly they can get it repaired, because that was never part of the deal.
I can't tell if the buzzing is memeing anymore, or if,
Anybody still have a phone on?
if we have any phones.
Mine's
Right
no.
over there.
Okay, we have no phones.
I have no more electronic devices.
I wonder if the players are phoning us.
All right, moving on. Can Varrock armor and mining gloves work with volcanic ash?
What was that, sorry?
Can the
Varrock
mining gloves?
armors and mining gloves work with volcanic ash?
It's not really connected, is it, to the rock?
I was going to say, yeah, Varrock doesn't really have that much. Mining gloves, maybe not so much. I mean, maybe having easier access to volcanic mine in order to do points to be able to get volcanic ash. I know there are a lot of people that don't necessarily like the idea of volcanic mine because it has a decent kudos requirement. And volcanic mine is probably one of the most fun mining experiences that we have in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to perhaps want to make that more accessible for people to get volcanic ash that way.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of just make it easier to get ash. Maybe that's just something that we should, in general.
Well, the places where you mine it, aside from the volcanic mine itself, they're not what you call accessible, because they're on Fossil Island and they're not very near the bank.
There's
So,
two that are next to a bank
Mm,
at the entrance to the volcanic mine
I
itself.
suppose there's those two. It's just,
And
it's quite a
more.
trek to get round there. So I can see them not wanting to make that trip, or wanting to make it as quickly as possible once they've done the trip.
Perfectly viable to do one or both if we wanted to. I just want to get more people in volcanic mine, to be honest, because it's very fun.
It's still Fossil Island locked, which is useful.
All right. Should we grab them from the chat then? Will you poll additional rewards for Raids 2, or is this finished? I think it's safe to say we would be open to a sudden genius idea from the community. If you guys can think of something that is very fitting and appropriate, then I think we'd be happy to offer it. But as it stands right now, we have some really solid big ticket items to offer you guys that are looking to pass. So it's already good, but if we can make it better, then definitely.
Yeah, I think in particular, like the big ticket items are there now. So maybe if there was extra niches that you feel need to be fitted, or if you want us to relook at the prayer or the potions in particular, we're more than happy to do that. I don't think we need that big, wow, great item, because we have quite a few of them.
I think we do need that wow great item.
No, so we already have them, right? So, or potentially have them.
We need a
Lady
sound.
Verzig's head for your POH wall.
Maybe, yeah, sure.
All right. Mr. Bass says, can we have a full screen mode?
Not make your client bigger and then have it on.
Oh, so it's
resize.
like
I think 'cause, yeah, we have resizable,
Yeah.
but it will of course include the taskbar and the top bar. That sounds engine?
Well, it was, and I think we found when we had one back in 2008 that it was far less popular than resizable mode. So in the end, it became more of a nuisance than a benefit.
Right.
Just because it needed a lot of maintenance to keep it working in that additional mode that could be popped out of at any time if you lost focus on your window. And relatively few people liked it. Its main use, I think, was when people had a fairly big screen and wanted to play on something that was effectively low resolution. And while I certainly see the benefits of that, I'd hope that something else the engine team can do will lead us to a solution to that without it having to be the very inconvenient modal full screen thing.
Okay. Can you add Nail Beast nails to Raids 2 drop table?
Nail Beast nails are very handy for Iron Man. Well, they're required to make Sanfew serums, which are not, like, getting the nails themselves are not ideal in that aspect for Iron Man.
It's the right neighbourhood. Like, they come from Mauritania. She lives in Mauritania. Maybe she's been trimming Nail Beast claws in the centuries of her life.
This sounds like, well, if there's something that are difficult to acquire for Iron Man, and that's something that we need to consider, perhaps a different means than Raids 2.
Didn't we discuss last Q&A and in a few times recently about how adding more and more kind of like resources to drop tables as a means to make them easier isn't always the best thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's alternatives that we can look at instead.
Maybe that animal husbandry thing we pitched at Runefest could you could have nail beasts in there.
Maybe.
And you can
Maybe.
harvest your own homegrown nail beasts.
We should add some very much tougher secateurs for harvesting.
Right. Are you guys open to boss mechanic suggestions? I'm going to be completely honest and say more than likely not. Just being honest. We've already got our bosses down to a T pretty much, and we have some really, really, really impressive mechanics that we're very happy with.
Although even if we've got a pretty full dev schedule of mechanics already in place for this, I'm not averse to hearing cool ideas for future bosses that are not intended for this one thing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Also, I think we're designing it to be expandable if we ever wanted to add more chambers in future.
Yeah. And we did have one actually come from some players. We had some content creators in the office. That was an idea. So we're open to ideas, especially when it comes to room mechanics and bosses and all that. But we're pretty set in stone right now. Moving on. Jared says, when will the PvP updates be added in the game from the poll?
Some of them will be coming tomorrow. In fact, most of them, apart from
The looting bag.
the looting bag one, which we had to pull out last minute. So yeah, all of them apart from the looting bag. And the PvP world for free to play, because as we said last week, we're just waiting on the last bits of work to be done so that the worlds are ready, but that's also looking very good and promising to be out very soon.
Right. Try to find art questions. And the only thing is HD. I assume you don't want to comment on HD.
Try harder, Chris.
Okay. Guys, give us some good art questions. Come on. Group Iron Man after mobile question mark? I mean, that's
We
a
know you
question.
want it. If we can get it, we'll do it. We can't guarantee that one, though, nor can we give an ETA for it.
Right.
But we do know you want it. And we'd love to give it to you, because from our point of view, there's not a huge amount of content involved in making it, and we think a lot of you might play it.
I found an art question.
Beautiful. Keep the art questions.
See?
Yeah.
See? That's how
I have 1,000,001 art questions I can ask you related to Raids 2 and the bosses you're making,
Okay.
but I also don't want to spoil designs.
Just in one.
That's cool.
So,
It's all right.
yeah, we'll get there though.
I think that was your art question.
Which
after
one is it?
The
I
third
can
one
see.
down.
It's right in front
What
of you.
will
you
the
still
art
can't
look
find
like
it.
on old school mobile? Do you have to make any custom assets for mobile?
Yeah, we're having to do a little bit of tweaking to textures for old school mobile. I believe Mod West is also doing some interface work for old school mobile as well.
Okay.
And in general, I think the graphics look a lot nicer on old school mobile because they're not so zoomed in, so you can't get right up close to things to see all the defaults.
Yeah.
Talking about the textures, do you want to tell us about the thing with the trees and the holes in the top?
Yeah, so the thing with the trees and the holes in the top, we've got one texture which actually shows the border of a tree, the tree canopy when it comes to the bottom, and that texture was also used on the tops of the trees as well, and they stretched some polys to make sure it all knits at the top of the tree. Unfortunately, mobile's great, so the way it renders them actually renders them as they should be, so that means that the textures open up on the tops of the trees. So I've got to create a new texture for that, basically.
Thank you.
So yeah, there's a few bits of bobs to sort out for mobile. I like it though, just because it's much more, it's much crisper and clearer.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's zoomed out as well, so the game just looks so much better.
I know. Speaking to you quite some time ago, we were talking about how you didn't used to be able to zoom in so far into characters, so you couldn't see things like a skill cape clipping through like Bando's chest plate.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas now that players can zoom in as far as they want to, they're starting to be like, fix this, and there's a lot of stuff that has popped up. Is that something that you get quite frequently, or?
It used to be. It's not so much now. I think players are a bit wiser to what we can and can't do, which is kind of nice. But as well as that, I don't think many people zoom right in on the game window in their general play, so it's not so much of a problem.
I think we also have the thing that if some people are used to certain textures certain ways, like with the Abyssal Whip being part see-through and things like that, we have to consider about whether, if we believe there to be a bug and want to change them, should we just be changing them or should we be putting it to the players?
Yeah,
like
that's
this,
right,
the most recent one I can think of in the office is the construction skill cape. If you wear it on a male character and wear it on a female character, the lapels or like the shoulder pads are different colours.
Yeah.
And then we had the discussion going, well, this one's yellow when it should be orange, but are players too used to that and that's what they like, or should we change it? So I'll ask the chat, should the construction skill cape be orange as opposed to one orange, one yellow? Or
yes, because
should they both be yellow?
the other week. So.
Yes, I know. We fixed it and then we sent the discussion round and it was like, maybe we should ask the players.
Fair enough.
Did you fix it by changing the females to match the males or the males to match the females?
I fixed it to the variation that was on the job telling me what to do.
They should be orange as opposed to the orange is the original because it should be the tassels should be the same as the shoulder pads.
And is there a green pixel?
There's no green pixel.
We can add one.
I know. The audacity.
This reminds me of that weird meme that came up where some people thought that dress was a different color.
Oh, the pink or grey thing. No, green or grey. Is it something like
Black,
that? Pink or blue?
Blue, white.
That was nonsense.
I don't know.
It's nonsense. Just let's not talk about that.
Okay, moving on. Here we go. I want to get through a couple of Deadman questions real quick. So, Foe asks, is the Deadman season going to require top 1840 or 2000 to qualify? We're going to invite the top 2000 again, so no worries. We will invite the additional 160 on top of that. We feel we should be perfectly fine considering it's typically 800 to 1,000 that end up jumping into that tournament. So we should be okay. And Oss asks if there's any way magic potions could be added to the Deadman drop table. They're currently 25k each and way more expensive than other potions. So I feel personally it's a bit too late, something that we can potentially consider for the next season. However, the reason why magic potions are expensive is because people haven't been able to acquire the magic level they want to PK with because of the caps. So people are potting up to Entangle right now, whereas in 2 days' time, 3 days' time, you won't have to do that, and magic potions should drop in line. So if you wanna add that cost, you can pot to Entangle if you're following the caps and working on a mage PKing build, that is. Rob says, can we get a right-click option on our player-owned house portal that says Varrock teleport when your teleport is set to the Grand Exchange? It's a bit annoying to toggle it over and over again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm saying yes as in from a convenience point of view, not obviously whether it's technically possible or not, but it's the same with when we polled the change for the Karamja gloves to have right-click teleport options, and it was like, oh, why didn't you do it to the ID cloak, and why didn't you do it to this one? And you could also do it to that one. So I was going
to say, if we do it to the Varrock portal, we're going to do it to the Camelot portal, so you can change between the bank entrance and the entrance to Camelot.
Would make sense. And there's a watch Yenil one.
Yenil, I believe it takes you to the watchtower or to the
middle
gate.
Of the town.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if they're all possible, then maybe we could fit those in as part of like a qual week that we do again.
I think a lot of yeses in the chat.
I don't see a reason why for it to be impossible. I mean, it's not harder than what we did to the occult altar thing.
Cool. Most of those.
I think Mod Wolf did most of the work on that one.
Yeah. It also says this can also be implemented with the Yenil and Watchtower and Camelot and Seers portals.
Cool.
There you go.
Because nobody ever really needs to go to the watchtower for a darn thing once they've done that quest.
No.
Right. I can never tell when the chat's trolling. We're just going to continue talking. Wick says, can we overview Last Man Standing as a whole? The minigame has a lot of potential, being far more fun and exciting just by looking at the current famous Battle Royale games. So this is a conversation in itself, but I'd like to personally take another look at Last Man Standing in my tap time and see if there's anything we can think of, because it does need an entire redesign, and unfortunately we're not in a position where we can just say that redesign should require the entire team's attention for 2 weeks' time, because we don't want to take them away from things like raids or mobile, etc. So yeah,
It is cool though. I mean, I loved watching the high stake weekends on Twitch, because those were so like entertaining. So if we can make it in some way better.
yeah, there's so many things to look over, such
Yeah.
as giving players unlimited prayer inside, no prayer, whether we want to continue with the prayer flicking meta in there, new maps, new weapons, new spawns, etc. Anyways, moving on. Gren says, rename the Mage Arena 2 mini quest to Collodian's Arena 2. Or sorry, Collodian's Master Challenge, rather. Rather than simply Mage Arena 2, considering the sequel doesn't even take place in the Mage Arena.
You started at the major entrance to the major arena.
Yeah, but it's not Mage Arena.
No, I know.
We had this thought when we were releasing it, like, do we call it Mage Arena 2? And we were like, well, people might not know what we're talking about if we call it something
Yeah,
else.
so it was more like a case of you understand that this follows on from Mage Arena rather than it's the most fitting of names. So
I would like to change it, and then if we do decide to offer new gods, like higher variants of the god spells, which I think was one thing that was originally discussed during the design phase, whether we wanted it or the players wanted it or not, etc.
I mean,
It's not a Mage Arena 2.
Stop saying who cares. If it doesn't apply to you, then ask a better question. All right.
that's going to come back on you now.
That's right. Hopefully we'll get a lot more better questions next week then.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. Give Curtis Ellie. He did get one today. Congratulations, Curtis. He's not watching this, but
That's someone's name, not the
congrats.
question.
I know, I'm seeing that.
Oh, right, okay.
I'm
Well,
literally
just
reading it.
just clarifying.
Can we have portraits of Aiza put into our playroom's house?
You didn't read that before you
Why?
asked it. No, the answer is no. Although it would be interesting to see what I'd look like as a modelled as a RuneScape character.
You'd be Super Saiyan.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
Can we,
I
can
like
we
that.
fit your hair into it?
We'll get a new
Because-
hairstyle. It can be like the yellow spike kind of.
Yeah.
We'll get the Goku look.
Okay.
Can it cost over 9,000 GP?
Sure, why not?
You might be sat on a toilet, actually, if I'm honest, if I did make it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why would we sit on a
It'd be funny,
toilet?
right? It'd be hilarious.
Well, that's because I think there's only one toilet in RuneScape anyway.
Oh, yeah, that'd be it.
No, there's another one. Maz added another one on Fossil Island.
Oh, we have 2 toilets. We don't quite know who's in the first one though.
Well, it's a person you've always been able to contact from the lunar spell that contacts an NPC. It's always had a chance of contacting a man who's on the toilet, and we finally found out where he is. He's been in Zare all those years.
When is the last time we offered new hairstyles?
We did some last year, I think.
Yeah.
We did mostly female with 1 or 2 male hairstyles, or was it the other way around? I
I
can't
think
remember.
it was the other way around, because there was an abundance of female.
We took it up to the same number of varieties for both.
Yeah.
Would you like to offer more? Sometime this year, maybe.
It just depends on the interface work.
The interface work isn't too much of a problem. I made that thing fairly flexible. I suppose it becomes a matter of modelling all the things and dealing with the render order issues with hats if the hair perhaps
Hairstyles and
sticks up in ways. Then if you wear certain hats, we might have some difficulties with
I
it.
may have just had a dose of PTSD with that.
Just make it so that with certain hairstyles you can't wear helmets.
It'd be nice maybe to tidy up the interface a bit,
just
because
delete
it's kind
my
of
hair.
squished in. So if you're able to expand it and make it so people can scroll down, there's a little space between them as well.
It would have to be scrolling because we can't go a lot wider.
Yeah, so if you could just tidy up a bit, I don't see why we couldn't promote it as well with a few extra haircuts, but probably not in the upcoming sort of 6 months, probably around October, Christmas time, we could do something like that.
Okay. For every moving on in the chat, we're taking 5 more minutes to talk about hairstyles. Unless you have the emote. Which, by the way, profit goes to charity. Gren says, add an extra fire making cape perk so it becomes less underwhelming. when equipped, it would now also get rid of the need to bring logs to the balloon transportation system.
Yeah, the fire making cape is kind of like an easy version. Is it one of the? I can't remember which Kandor and helm acts as a light source, but having a wearable light source is a very handy thing. In some instances,
Yeah, I was going to say like
about.
it's really decent for like certain instances I can't remember. But on that note of the whole logs for transport, I remember that in the Quality of Life month we talked about having a potential like log storage crate where you could put a certain amount of logs next to the transportation system and it would automatically take them out. It would be like a one-way thing where you would be able to put up to 1,000 logs into the storage, and you'd never be able to take them back out, but you could just then do the transportation straight away. It's almost like a very minor log sink, but I think that would be a more fitting solution than having a fire-making cape that acts as unlimited logs as well. So,
well, the reason it would work for logs, I suppose, is that it would be effectively on fire, so it could make the balloon go up by just being hot and on your back.
Do you want me to head over to the computer now?
Yeah, we're almost.
I'll get set up, so
halfway
just come over
point.
to me
Sure.
when you're ready.
Okay. So we do have a bit of a sneak peek today for Raids 2, as Mod Ghost is about to show you. I believe he's working on Lady Verzik.
Yep.
We'll get there in a minute, but we'll ask you guys another question or two. I've got a good one, I think. Can Mod Ash play Sea Shanty 2 on his violin?
What if I don't like Sea Shanty 2?
Oh wow!
Then I may as well just leave the Q&A now.
One does not simply not like Sea Shanty 2.
I'll say I liked it the first, 400 times I heard it.
I like it when it was played on those 6 hard drives.
There's a guy who's playing it, who did play it on Reddit. Did you see that?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I think did I put it or someone put it around Hip Chat today, I think.
It was you.
Oh, it was me.
Yeah.
Well, Kieran played it through Guitar Hero. That should be good enough. Hess says the integrity revision stated that Artie Knights would now give coin purses when thieved. While wearing the rogue outfit, this doubles the coin purse loot, thus making the rogue outfit a disadvantage? ?
I think rather than giving you 2 purses and filling up your inventory, we'd be more than capable of giving you a single purse with double the contents.
Okay.
It's also been suggested that rather than limiting it by your inventory, we could do it a bit like the fragments of essence that you use in the Arceus area, where it acts like a stackable item, but you can't stack it indefinitely. And once you've got a certain amount of it in your inventory, it won't stack any higher, which means that you could still have a pocket full of food and get a finite number of these things, which you then have to open the stack, turn it into real coins, and then carry on thieving away without needing to sacrifice the space you normally use for carrying food around.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing a lot of yeses there.
Well, it's not like I thought of that one myself. It came to me via social media.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing as well with everything that we do, especially in terms of the integrity. It's like we pitch something as this is a problem, this is one way that we think we can solve it, what do you think? And then we look at what you think and we say, okay, cool, actually that works as well and we can do it this way. And it's all a process of back and forth working with you guys to make sure we get the right solution. Similar with the Def Mechanics survey that we sent out recently, I think you've probably got that as a question later on.
I do.
So I'll cover that one now. Mod Sween sent me over a bit of information. I think we had well over 14,000 responses so far to the Def Mechanics survey.
Unique
as well. Unique responses. Obviously that level of response is going to take some time to go through. And Mod Sween, Mod Cam and the data analytics team are going to go through that so they can really get into the nitty-gritty details. But ultimately we've obviously seen a lot of feedback and some of the things that we've seen are concerns about Ultimate Iron Man. So obviously we'll take that into account, and it's not even that we completely ignored Ultimate Iron Men. It's just that the form was kind of like this is a problem, this is what we want to do, and this is how we think we can solve it. We probably should have done a better job of highlighting Ultimate Iron Men in that as well, but it's not that we completely forgot. that was just a very long survey as it was. And yeah, we'll incorporate whatever we can in making sure that that works going forward as well.
It would need to be a bit more detailed if we were putting it to the players as a definite
Yeah.
proposition. But having used the survey to see whether they're at all interested in it,
Exactly.
we'll know whether it's worth writing a more detailed version that also handles Ultimate Ironman, by the way.
Yeah. And as well on that, ultimately, the general response to the whole survey was very positive. So it's good for us because it's gave us a lot to work on and a lot of things that we can go forward with. And yeah, as Ash has rightly said, we've obviously seen demand for Ultimate Ironmen and, you know, we'll bring that forward.
Because they exist.
Yeah.
Do they? We've got a thumbs up, so it looks like Mod Ghost is ready for his sneak peek of the week. Take it away.
Hello, so this week we'll be showing off some raid stuff, and the first thing we're going to be showing off is the Scythe, which Mod Rye has created, so I'll switch to the editor. In case you're wondering what it would look like in game, that's what it would look like in game. It's quite small. But let's zoom in and take a closer look. So we've got a nice chain coming down here to a blood-filled lantern, and we've got some nice blade detail just here as well, and we've got a hooked handle right at the bottom just there. So I'm just going to switch that off, and this is the attack animation that Mod Rye has made. That looks like it would really hurt.
Can I harvest my grain with it?
I'm not sure on that one. You can certainly hurt people with it. We allow you to hurt people. Virtually, yes, that's right. Cool. All right, let's enjoy that from multiple angles before I move on. Do you know, I just checked that out as well. I thought that's a nice little detail where the hand comes off the handle. It's really good. Yeah, it's lovely. And player animations are really difficult to work with just because we deal with a legacy base, so we don't get to customize it as much. So Mod Rye's done an excellent job there. Okay. Now, I've got to top that. Everyone seems to like it, so I do hope you like this. This is the final boss that I've been working on. So I'll actually show you the concept first. So that was the concept that we started off with. We've got a whole bunch of options that I could have chosen. So this is the one just here that I went for. That's the second in from the left. Yeah, I know. That's the second in from the left. That's hanging there from that sort of hoist that looks exactly like the image that I showed you. All right, so let's switch to this. There we go. Okay, and we've also got a vampire variant of her as well, just to make her look a lot meaner. So you can see as well she's got a harness on now, and she's got this long robe that comes down too. She's not going to be like a massive size boss either, so that's really important for me to actually establish her size using extra additional pieces like that, so it makes her seem nice and tall now. So she's roughly the same height as Seraphina with all of that added. I can hear that. Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay.
New cape.
Yeah, so we were talking about that. So there might be there is a cosmetic cape being pulled at the moment. Is that right? Yeah, so that shroud might end up being that at the back there. I think that'd be kind of nice and fitting, but we can see that's open to debate at the moment. Cool. So I'll just zoom in on the face. Move over here. There we go. That's everything I've got to show. I won't dwell on that too much. I'll let you get back to the questions. But thank you very much. There'll be more to come next week on a design stream that I'll be hosting. Thank you.
I'm excited.
I'm very excited. I love the variety in bosses that we're going to have from this stream. From Raids 2, that is. It's so... It feels... what's the word I'm looking for? Worse in general, I think, if we just went for like a grotesque like vampire, like vicious looking fanged beast. Like that'd be a very generic attempt, I think.
I think I'll always like characters to have character.
You don't say.
Yeah, I know, it's a bit of an obvious thing to say, right? But by that I mean I just prefer them to look unique and stay in people's mind as opposed to just being more of the same.
Yeah.
So everything I make, I always try to make it look unique in its own right. So we've actually just got a backlog of old school RuneScape characters that people know as soon as they see them, as opposed to just seeing kind of rip-offs of other ideas that are seen in other media. This won't stay on, sorry.
The other thing is as well is that we obviously know a lot. We know the story behind the Theatre of Blood and the way that it's all going to lead up to the final boss and the bosses that are going to be in there, and that really adds a lot of context. So when you eventually go and see it, you will understand why the kind of decisions that we've made have gone that way. So.
And why she's got a built-in coat hanger.
Yeah, why she's got her own coat.
And that.
It'll all make sense when the time is right.
I wasn't actually looking at the chat. Did people like it this time?
Yes.
Because I know on the design stream people weren't sure. So hopefully I've redeemed myself since that.
We do need more art questions as well, guys.
It's fine. You don't have to.
TV
indulge.
printers question there might actually be one.
Okay, let's see.
Well,
what we've got.
it's like, yeah, you've got a Scythe, which is this like badass, like you want to kill people with, and then you've got the boss, which without context doesn't look as intimidating and scary, right?
Yeah.
But with context,
Because it does look like you could just poke her with the scythe and she'd kind of pop.
Who knows? You might have the death anim there.
did you take any inspiration from Tim Burton?
So I take inspiration from lots of places, but it's more to do with creature design and the principles of creature design. I don't.
I'm going under the arm.
Under
for
the
what
arm.
it's worth, yeah.
Okay. I don't really tend to just look at a character and say, let's do that. I tend to look at how things are pieced together. And no, that's not working either. How'd you do yours?
Get it
So-
sorted out and then talk.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. You can move on if you want.
Okay, we'll come back. We'll come back.
You
to
can
Tim Burton
twizzle
question.
the way that the mic points as well. They're on like a turny thing, so if you put it in a place that sticks, you can turn the mic around.
Right. Make the scythe more curved. I think if you have any feedback for these items, go ahead and I think just at Jagex.
Jagex Rai.
Yeah.
Go on Twitter and add him and send him feedback.
Jagex, right? He's probably in the chat. Give us a hey, guys. Mod Rai.
Probably spamming Boaty VV. Normally what he does.
I can't do your technique, sorry.
Okay, I'll leave it to you. Take the mic. All right. Let's move on then. Grant says, let Godstaves auto-cast their respective spells. It doesn't make sense that the Staff of the Dead can auto-cast Flames of Zamorak, Staff of Light can auto-cast Sarah Strike, but then the Godstaves themselves cannot.
I think the idea was to have a more powerful secondary version. So, or that you unlock, you need this stave to cast the spell, but until you get to the higher tier weaponry kind of thing, 'cause I think it's got, is it only a 60 magic requirement to wield?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
And that's it? The Staff of the Dead's a bit more, so therefore it has a better ability to it, kind of thing.
I do recall this turned up during the Wilderness Rejuvenation discussion, but a lot of other things seemed a lot more useful to people than this one, so we didn't include it in the end. But the idea's not exactly vanished, and if people do want it, we can go there.
We're also talking about it would be devaluing the Staff of the Dead and the Staff of Light, which are obviously much more expensive and difficult to obtain. And it also begs the question: should we offer something to autocast the Gothics?
The Void
Well,
Knight
there's
Yeah,
Jason.
so
Void
Void
Mace
on
does
Oh,
that.
it does. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I'd have
Wow.
hoped that since the Staff of the Dead and the Light version have that special attack on them that's really quite useful, they'd still retain their unique profile, even
Yeah.
if the autocasting were not unique to them anymore.
Also, very very strong melee with those.
Mm.
Anyways, moving on. Milo says, remove the hourglass at Pyramid Plunder. There's already a timer and it obstructs a large amount of the screen.
This is another one that was in Quamonth. It was one of like very, very highly suggested topics. It's in the suggestion list to be looked at. I believe Ash can probably touch on it more, but interface work in general, especially with those ones, it's an old interface, so it requires a lot more time.
That one actually isn't, but when there were about 30 odd jobs on that first poll anyway, and
Yeah.
the news post was about to say that the majority of them would come out the week after the poll closed, we couldn't commit to doing any more. It can certainly be done in future.
Okay. Now that you're mic'd up, did you take any inspiration from Tim Burton?
Oh, okay. Generally, I take inspiration from lots of places. When I look at an artist, Tim Burton is one of them. I'll just look at how they actually piece together their creatures and their design style. I won't say, oh, look, there's Jack Skeleton. Our game needs Jack Skeleton, because it's not really something you should do if you want to come up with original ideas. So generally, I'll take design methods, but not actual designs.
Okay. I learned something new today. I was talking about that boss that you just showed off, and I said, she looks like she needs some claws. And then we gave her claws, and then you're right, that's where the eyes were immediately drawn to,
That's
and
right,
that was
yeah.
taking away from the view of the face. Hadn't really thought of that.
You're not.
That's just a today I learned. There's nothing more to add to that.
Yeah.
Ability to store barbarian assault armor in player-owned house.
Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Meh.
Okay. I thought that was going to be a hard no.
Well, it
Simply
used,
for
to be,
technical
it used to be problematic for technical reasons, but then we got this new engine feature last year that let us make the code a lot more efficient. So now we can add more to it without it occasionally making your game crash you offline.
I was going to say, because I think the biggest menu we probably have is the holiday items one. The bigger, it's got 2 pages even, and I don't think any of the other menus actually have multiple pages in that aspect.
Funnily enough, the problem was that the lookup for all the items is shared, and the longer it got, the more processing it had to do. But Engine gave us a more efficient way of doing all the checks simultaneously against no matter how long the list gets. So no, it's got a lot better than it used to be.
So, a lot of people asking about mobile, and I spoke to Mod Sween briefly before this, and he did have an update to tell me, but unfortunately, it's not on my notepad. Do you remember what he said?
No.
I think he said we have an update coming very, very soon.
Yeah, I know that
I know that's a frustrating answer to give, but
Yeah.
it's an update.
like I'm pretty sure that there was something that was meant to go out this week, but for reasons we're unable to. So very soon you will have an update as to what's coming with mobile, but
Yeah.
can't put a time on it just yet. So
I'm going to ask a quick question about damage traveling onto players while they're in the middle of actions. So one of the things that's popped up with Deadman this season is players are using the agility course in Draenor, and once they hop onto something, if there's damage dealt to them during, it doesn't follow through. So they're essentially able to lap around the course without taking damage. Is this something that we're able to fix, do you know?
We can make damage not be cleared by those things. Does mean that however long the animation goes on for, you are stacking it up. You can't eat during that.
Yep.
So it's quite harsh that you can also be killed during that. But sure, we can allow it. It used to be that people saw this kind of thing as a bug, of course. Like, I was doing this long animation and I couldn't do anything about it, and at the end all the damage had queued up and I died. People used to complain viciously that the game was broken when it allowed that. But if it's broken that it doesn't allow that, then we can change it back.
There was a similar instance actually recently with Quest. Do you recall?
Yes.
Yes.
So the first time you get to the town on Lunar Isle, it plays this wonderful cutscene, which is about 12 seconds long. And while you're in that cutscene, you can be attacked, because obviously when it was created, we didn't have Deadman or PvP worlds. So in the original design, that would have been nowhere near the first thought. But
or skill specs.
and then, yeah, unfortunately, it was found, and we have since fixed it.
I believe Kieran's fix is coming out tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay.
Beautiful.
It is indeed. Well, I've wrote in the news post, so hopefully it is.
All right. Thank you. Moving on, Boulder says, can adding seeds to birdhouses automatically add 10 seeds instead of bringing up the how many menu? There's never a reason you'd want to add fewer.
I'd defer to Maz on that one, but I don't see a problem myself. Looks like she don't either.
Okay.
Although I can't spell that word she just said.
Patrick says, can we make it so bosses drop almost no runes anymore, like RS3? This makes runecrafting a way better moneymaker and makes skilling more competitive with PVMing in terms of gold per hour. Follow-ups were saying, this should also be done for ores and logs. another follow-up was saying runes were a PVM drop before they came from skilling. Another today I learned. Did anyone else know that?
I knew that.
I believe you.
I had no idea.
Was Runecrafting in the original release?
Apparently,
Of old school.
Apparently,
No,
runes.
in general.
Apparently, runes were dropped from monsters like 1999, and Runecrafting was released like 2003 or something.
Well, if you go as far back as RS Classic,
Yeah.
there was no rune crafting, and runes were indeed dropped by things or spawned on the tables in the Dark Wizard's Tower near Taverley. When RS2 came out in March 2004, with the rune crafting skill, they were redesigning combat quite substantially, trying to introduce a combat triangle. To go with that, everyone's existing runes were doubled as in the port over to RS2. So if you got 1,000 in RS Classic, you'd find you got 2,000 on your RS2 profile. And there was the Rune Mysteries quest that let you unlock access or unlock the Air Talisman, the lore about the runecrafting skill, so that getting runes was no longer purely a matter of killing creatures or doing whatever else you could do, pickpocketing, etc., that got you runes like it did in Classic. So if we're trying to work out when did runes get put on drop tables, when did runecrafting come out? Runecrafting came out in March 2004 with RS2. Runes have been on drop tables before and after that date, as far back as RuneScape really goes. We've added a lot more since Old School came out, and it's legit from players to say that we've gone too far using PVM as the source of all these resources, especially things that people used to get through skilling. And gradually, as we make new bosses, we tend not to use the same decisions we made in 2014, 15, 16.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think even in like a very recent instance is with Dragon Slayer 2, and for Vorkath, Rune and Adamant Dragons to drop Wrath runes. I mean, we polled that because we didn't want to just add them in, because initially we were like, okay, cool, Wrath runes are going to come into the game, Runecrafting, they're not going to be the best XP, but maybe they can be really good money, and we'll allow you guys to decide whether monsters should also have the chance to drop them. And obviously, you know, that polled and passed. So it seems like even now there's like mixed opinions on what should and shouldn't be done. But as Ash says, it's something that we definitely take into consideration now, and we will do going forward as well. So
Another thing with mixed opinions is whether it's Wrath or Wrath.
RAF with a double F.
What?
So it's colloquial where I'm from. We don't pronounce things properly.
Okay.
actually, with the runes as well, though, I'm thinking back to like a lot of things that have been done over the years, and I've not been at Jagex a huge amount of time, so apologies anyone on the couches if I'm wrong here. But a lot of instances we see where the meta to get stuff is to buy it from the shop, and a lot of people do that, which means that the shop then no longer becomes a meta because they're out of stock. So where else do you go to get the runes or items other than to craft them? Well, you go out and kill stuff, and you have that option then of killing stuff, buying stuff, or creating stuff. So
I'm up for anything which takes the meta away from being to use a shop.
yeah.
Although when there's a skill for creating a given item, like mining for getting hold of ores, etc., I would prefer that to be the meta. It's like when people wanted more Karamwanji, and they said, well, increase the stock in the shop. And we didn't. We instead made it something you do with your fishing skill, so that the better you get at fishing, the more fish you get, rather than doing it just by shopping.
Yeah.
If we ever had a shopping skill, then of course we could preserve that meta a lot more faithfully.
I do prefer the whole skilling kind of going out there and really earning your items and everything that you have. But again, I guess it's come down to one of those mixed opinions where so many people prefer it in other ways, and I guess it's getting that balance.
Also, sometimes the source that isn't the shop is painful or insulting, like the request we've been having for Snapegrass in Raids 2 as a reward. Because the original meta for getting hold of that was to click on the blinking ground. We don't really care about preserving that.
Didn't we discuss Snapegrass as part of something where we like to do towards the farming update that we announced at RuneFest?
We did, and that's why we probably weren't planning on putting it in Raids 2, certainly not in the quantities that they might be interested in.
Okay.
Should we move on?
We should move on. Here we go. How much of Raids 2 will we get to see before it's released? Well, we've shown you 2 bosses so far.
Yeah, some of the environments.
2
as well.
bosses, some environment, 2 rewards. We'll show you some more rewards, I believe that's safe to say. As far as the bosses go.
We were having this conversation earlier in the meeting, actually. I brought it up, how much is too much to show people. I think in general, we can show people assets, so we could show them an NPC, or we could show them an environment.
Yeah.
Showing what those things actually do, or mechanics, or say, for example, how an entire fight plays out is completely off limits.
Yeah.
But we can certainly give people a flavour of what they're going to see.
Yeah, I like that. I also really appreciate seeing people, especially on streams, hop into content with like a boss or something that they've never seen or even knew was coming. So I think we'll have plenty of secrets, but yeah.
Perhaps a conversation to have as well as with our audio department as to whether or not they want to show off any tracks before it goes live, or whether or not tracks should be kept exclusive for the release as well.
Well, we wouldn't be likely to play an entire track in the course of a Q&A because that would be quite a long section of the Q&A. But they responded rather well when we played them the first 20 seconds of the Gargoyle boss track over the trailer that showed you the spawn animation for them, which meant that we gave them a bit of a teaser of what was coming, and we had a soundtrack for our video, and it still didn't leak the mechanics.
Did we do it with Inferno as well?
I don't know.
Okay.
Inferno, I used that soundtrack in some videos that I made.
We used it in like hype videos and stuff like that.
So it seems there is a precedence for audio, but maybe on something like a design stream, we could ask to have like one track played whilst I'm doing some modelling or something. But
the obvious stuff is the mechanics, right?
One thing we haven't normally had is the actual music track available to us weeks before the project's coming out. We might have an advantage here if Mod Ian is on it sooner rather than later.
Sure.
I don't know what his schedule's like, actually.
Let's see if we can get through a few more quickly here. Slayer says, try not to sweep Chambers of Zarek under the rug. Can it also get a cape for completing raids of 100, 500, up to 1,000 times respectively?
It could. Our personal opinion is that I think it's different to Theatre of Blood, because with Theatre of Blood, obviously it being linear, it's about, like, you know that person has done the exact same raid, the exact same amount of times as what you have, whereas with Chambers of Zarek, because it's randomised, you can't guarantee that you've always got the same like route, even though obviously we're aware people scout and probably have optimal setups and runs that they do, but it's the reason why we decided to do it for Theatre of Blood is because we knew that everyone would always do the same raid and that it would be the same similar time.
It's the same amount of, I don't know, maybe for another time. I personally, I'm okay with that, but...
Yeah, we could. That being said, actually, we have got some time coming up this year to look at Chambers of Zarek. We mentioned it in Qual Month that we would be doing some stuff for it. I can't remember exactly when it is, but it's sometime early this year.
Although we do have a tweak in tomorrow's update about the rank required to start a raid. When we wrote Chambers of Zarek, we set it that if you wanted to form a party or be the party leader, you merely had to have whatever rank that channel required to kick. And that way, whoever owns the channel can decide who's got the authority to start a raid by just controlling whether or not they've got access to kick. And as a party leader, you might reasonably want to be able to kick. However, people don't tend to find that so useful. Channel owners don't want to give kick access to that many people necessarily. So we're changing it to be more like what we did with Clan Wars, where the rank to start a raid is just static. I think we went with captain. And if you've got that, you can be a party leader. If you haven't, you can't. But it will be a lot more predictable than whether or not you've got kick access in that particular channel. And hopefully that will be of some use to the people who are wanting to start raids while being a bit more junior than kicking in their channel.
Yeah.
And if it's not useful to you, well, hopefully you can adjust the ranks within your channel and the kick rank to get the effect you do want. I think this will end up more flexible in the end.
Okay. A couple more art questions, actually. Let's get through these quickly. Do you ever accidentally make the graphics for a new model too advanced for old school?
Always. Always. there's always something that goes wrong. So if I try to do something clever,
Yeah.
you just have to learn.
You're just
from
too
it.
smart for the
Don't do it
system.
again. No, I'm just too belligerent to accept that there's limitations.
Speaking of those limitations, what's the average poly count for old school bosses?
Around 2,600.
And texture size, also, do you make
We-
high poly versions for any of them?
We don't use textures and we don't make high poly versions.
Do you ever want to?
Yeah, I'd love to have
Yeah.
time to do that. It'd be nice to do, because I've seen some of the RS3 artists doing 3D prints of some of the God Wars bosses and then painting them on Twitter. They look great. I'd love to have an opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not really in the best interest of getting the work done for the game, so I can't really.
All right, fair enough. Moving on. Can the player-owned house obelisk be added to the garden/formal garden as well, so we don't need multiple superior gardens? Yes.
I think it's kind of this. That's part of the house management, really. It's like portal rooms. If you want every portal,
Maybe not yes.
you need 5 rooms or 6, something like that.
I'm going to be the typical grump again, but I think player-owned houses offer way too much convenience as it is. And if you wanted to have one room where you could do 2 things at once, then it's kind of like just have 2 rooms and just run that a little bit further.
Deal with it.
But I'm grumpy,
Okay.
and if people wanted it different, then of course we would look to change that if there's a huge demand. But that's just my opinion.
Small.
Thank you, Mod Grumpy Aiza. All right. Could you allow Zulrah to stop attacking the players after they've been resurrected by the Elite Diary? This would stop unnecessary deaths from occurring due to disconnections.
So it would sit there for a period of time, or sit there
I
till you
think-
click to continue or something?
I think a better solution would be to kick you out of the instance if you get resurrected by the Elite Diary.
Well, that seems reasonable.
Is that something we're able to do?
Yes.
Or is that something that the community is okay with? Obviously, the concern here is hardcore Iron Men. If they DC, if their computer breaks or whatever in the middle of a Zulrah, they'll be resurrected only to
But
then
the-
be killed again.
Killed again anyway.
Then on the flip side of that, for the sake of devil's advocacy, it basically then allows players to go kill Zora for as much as they can, and then until they die, and then go, oh, I'm dead, I can leave it till tomorrow. It's like that's part of the risk you take.
What happens if you were like mid-kill and you died, but you got resurrected and then you finished your kill off? You can't do that anymore.
You wouldn't, but you'd if you're a hardcore Iron Man, you'd be okay with that.
Oh yeah, I know for like hardcore Iron Men, but
Yeah.
what about normal accounts?
Well, that's the sacrifice, I guess. And
Yeah.
that's a tough pull. Good luck, hardcore Iron Man.
Do we want a straw poll? I don't think we've had one so far.
Let's sneak a straw poll in before the stream's over.
Oh, you two?
If we can steal my master. Can we straw poll? Sorry, let me just find the question here. Where have I gone to? Can you allow Zulrah to stop attacking the player after being resurrected by the Elite Diary? In the meantime, let's see if we can skim through a few of these questions. Free-to-play PvP worlds. Any updates?
I think I said a little bit earlier, we're still waiting on the last few things to be pulled together, but they're progressing, and as soon as it's finished, we'll be getting them, and it'll be a brand new world, so it won't be taking over an existing world. And whilst we're talking about worlds, I'm going to try and mention the word world as many times as I can.
With your accent, it just sounds like you're saying the same word.
Yeah, world and... well, I can't remember now. Anyway, in tomorrow's news post, there's going to be a section talking about worlds, so make sure you read tomorrow's news post and take a look at it, because we need your feedback and your opinions. Thank you.
This is a boring announcement. Could we see ancient effigies added into the game with the nerfed experience reward? I should just move on to the next.
Yeah.
Is this possible to be changed? The long delay when you misclick on a spell on an opponent. Oh, okay, so this is so when you're attacking a player, or probably a monster as well. Everybody who wants that's going to hate me. I'm sorry. It's just an obvious no. If you misclick a spell that you don't have the runes for, your player will sit there for like 3 seconds, and then when you go to cast your next spell, there is still a delay. So the question is to remove the delay. If
Like
if
we
you
did
try to
with
cast a
the
spell.
auto retaliate special attack, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So you essentially, it defaults to your regular attack, which you were already generally carrying if you select the wrong spell.
Yeah, but there's a delay.
If we did it for special attack, I'd be inclined to do it for magic as well.
I think it'd be a good update. to be
We
honest.
did poll for special attack, and if we are looking to do something for like Quell, maybe we could put that in with it.
Sure. Make Zulrah to stop attacking players after resurrection by diary. 60% yes, 40% of people hate hardcore Iron Men. All right. Thanks, Monmaz. 6 o'clock. Let's see if we can get in a couple more questions really quick here. Raids in Deadman mode. This was a conversation that's come up recently. A lot of people have come forward and said that they'd actually love to have the challenge of trying to complete raids in Deadman. Might inspire some more players to hop in and try to compete in the game mode. So the thing about raids in Deadman is as it's an instance, you get no experience. Also, you're at a significant disadvantage. You have really low gear and you're capped for experience. So when it would come out, you'd probably be like 80s for stats, and you'd probably be in like Mystic and Black D'hide and Rune. So good luck. And of course the drop rates are extremely rare as they are. So it'd be very unlikely that in the 1 month period we would see many rewards, but there would be the potential for maybe a pair of Dragon Claws or something like that to make their way into the game. And there's the question of if something does make their way into the game and it's just incredibly overpowered, say Full Ancestral somehow came in, that guy's basically a beast. But he would have had to work very hard for it and be very expensive. So it's a bit of a trade-off, but it's an idea.
It's interesting, isn't it?
As a matter for Deadman, certainly not this season, it's too late, but potentially something we can consider with the next Deadman. All right. We've already gone through the death mechanics one. And the last question I have here is, add Death Rune packs to Mage Arena Rune Store after completing Mage Arena 2. It's not a question.
Is that more of a demand?
Yeah.
Where are they normally? Are they normally sold in any shops? Magic Guild, maybe?
Yeah,
I-
they're
I-
in the Magic Guild.
Yeah, they're in the Magic Guild and they're in the obviously the shop in the Major Arena as well. And it's just like, so there's more options to buy them. But
Can we not put them on any other piece of content that isn't a shop?
yeah, like we were just talking literally at the start of the Q, or towards the earlier of the QA, was like, people want less things from shops and less things as drops and more ways to make them. But maybe there's a different, I don't know.
What?
You can get them from Ali Morissane's Sudoku puzzle store,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
What?
Chris
Cats.
just looked at me as if he didn't know that existed.
Maz points out that cats have them, if people can't hear that.
Okay. It's your job, you better know.
Sorry,
You
Godzilla.
should know everything.
Well, no, I mean, as in I don't know what my response is to that question, whether it should or not.
Oh.
Like, personally, I'd be like, no, because I'm grumpy, right? I don't know. I don't know why. Why is there a sudden need for like buying Death Runes easier from a shop?
You go kill something that drops it.
Okay.
Or go get your
Okay.
Runecrafting up.
I'm going.
I think as far as a question like this, to give you a quick answer, is there needs to be a reason why. So instead of just saying, give us this, say because of this. Right. That being said, guys, I think we're going to call it quits there. So that will conclude our Q&A this week. Well, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again next Wednesday.
See ya.